think about whether or not you should do things, I know that. I mean, most of it you can do.
Yeah. I just don't know how many's in Zoom land. Which I like the turning points, Sunday, Hebrew, Tuesday, Friday. Trying to see what else.
Are you the announcer?
Yeah, Erica and Jeff had tickets for something. So she asked if I would,
Okay, good.
since I'm typically here. Okay. Yeah.
Guess everybody's gone with the wind and not here. Okay.
Did anybody go to Paris?
Pardon?
Did anybody go to Paris?
Yeah, that's right. They're stuck in traffic around the opening ceremony. All right. guess we can't blame the security system for people not being there. There are desserts back there.
More for us.
He said there's one more. Where did they get lost in the lobby? I'm a past president, I can adjust the air conditioning. It's always warm. It's warm on the beam.
You got one of these sheets tight for that. Is it too warm? It's bloody. Yeah, outside. I took a shower at 4 o'clock just standing out there for 15 minutes. I'm gonna go home and take another.
I understand. There are people in Charleston survive.
We only got 4 yard sites this way. Well, 4 like 4 flats. Yeah, Arkham went out of town.
Ah, as they usually come.
Um,
Well, they have
Yeah.
come.
Don't know where Wanda is. Linda
Ladies?
no, she's one of the school teachers.
You sure there's another person? Are they?
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
It's all right, I can't remember anybody's name.
But you could probably go ahead.
Okay,
She's in the building,
in the building, well,
but it still isn't gonna give us a meeting.
okay. So, let us turn to page 4 as we prepare to light the Shabbat candles. And let's read reading B on the top of the left-hand side of page 4, responsibly. As I light these candles, may my eyes be open to the light of the world.
As I light these candles, may my inner eye perceive the light within me.
May these rays of light spread blessing through the world, to my family and friends, to all who know me, and to all those in need.
By your light we shall see light.
May it be your will that I may be at peace and that peace may reign amongst us. Amen. Okay. Oh, come on. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Let us turn the page and sing together Shalom Aleichem on the bottom of page 5. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Ashoret, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitzechem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All right, let's turn to page 17. And read responsively Psalm 98, which goes on 17 and 18. Sing to Adonai a new song, for Adonai has wrought wonders. God's right hand and holy arm have brought deliverance.
Adonai declared deliverance as nations looked on, God's righteousness was revealed.
God dealt faithfully and kindly with the house of Israel. The very ends of the earth saw our God's saving power.
Call out to Adonai, all the earth. Break out in joyful singing. Sing to Adonai to the music of the lyre. Lyre and voices making music together. With horns and shofar cries, trumpet and presence of the sovereign Adonai.
Let the sea and all that is in it roar, the earth and all who inhabit it thunder. Let rivers clap hands while mountains sing in harmony. Greeting Adonai, who comes to judge the earth, judging the world with justice and the nations with truth. Let's turn to page 23, and we will welcome the Sabbath bride with Lecha Dodi. We'll sing the first two verses on 23, the middle verse on 24, and the last verse on 25. Lecha Dodi lekrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabla, Lecha Dodi lekrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabla. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad, Ishme'anu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, L'shem ol tiferet v'li tehila, Lecha Dodi lekrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabla. Lekrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikerem nesucha, sof maaseh machshava tehila, lecha dodi lekrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabla. Hitoreri, hitoreri, Kiva orech umi ori, uri, uri, Shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla, lecha dodi, lekrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabla. We rise and face the entrance in the rear as we sing the last paragraph, on page 25. Boi v'shalom, ateret bi'Allah, gam b'simcha u'v'tzahala, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, hadodi lekrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabla. All right. Since we don't have a minyan, you may be seated. Well, since you don't have a minyan, we won't do Mourner's Kaddish. And this is the place for words of wisdom, at least the Devar Torah. And you'll indulge me as I share Devar Torah that I found on the internet. The internet, as you know, is an amazing source. Just looking for a little bit, there are at least a dozen Devars on this Parsha of Pinchas. And I chose to deliver one slightly edited that was given by Rabbi Lisa Cruikshank, who is the senior rabbi at Temple Emmanuel El Beth Shalom in Montreal. It's a Reform synagogue, and it comes from the website reformjudaism.org. So, as we come to the end of the book of Numbers, Moses is constantly reminded that he will not be the one to lead his people into the promised land. In this Parshat Pinchas, we find the second census of the people by the Jordan River before their crossing. Those named in the first census at the beginning of Numbers have almost all died in the wilderness over the almost 40 years between the two censuses. So Numbers covers almost 40 years. You know, we've got all the buildup in Genesis. We've got the action of the Exodus in the second book. We got laws in Leviticus, and Numbers is moving time. We spend 40 years meandering around Sinai, in Jordan, wondering, not asking directions. So it's taking us a while. Joshua is one of the two sole survivors from that first census, from the Exodus. And he will be the one that leads Israel forward. Anyone have a clue who the other survivor was, supposedly? Caleb, yeah. And Caleb, of course, was the second spy who came back with real positive information. Yes, it's a wonderful land. Yes, the people are there, but we can take care of it. So Joshua's selection as leader comes in a passage from this week's Parsha that is used to this day in many rabbinic and cantoral ordination ceremonies. And I'll quote from Numbers chapter 27. Moses spoke to the Eternal, saying, "Let the Eternal, source of the breath of all flesh, appoint someone over the community who shall go out before them and come in before them, who shall take them out and bring them in, so that the Eternal's community may not be like sheep that have no shepherd." And at God's instruction, Moses proceeds to lay his hands on Joshua's head, authorizing him to be the next leader. Now, Joshua, of course, is a familiar figure. We've seen him as Moses' second command throughout. However, he's not the only contender. The Parsha gets its name Pinchas from the story of Pinchas, which begins this section. So Pinchas was a priest who was also a zealot. And it starts with this high drama story of Pinchas, who killed an Israelite man and a Midianite woman who he caught en flagrante. And in fact, the story, literally in the Bible, he skewers them with his sword, one on top of the other. I don't need to paint a picture. But, it's incredibly brutal. And he's incredibly, shall we say, a fanatic. The Talmud in particular shows deep ambivalence about Pinchas' vigilante justice. But in the Torah, he seems to be rewarded. His action stops a plague, and God gives him a covenant of peace. He becomes high priest. The Kotzer Rebbe, who lived in the 19th century in Poland and was a Hasidic rabbi known for his practical advice and wisdom, writes the following: when Moses saw how great Pinchas was, he was afraid that he would be chosen as the leader. But Moses was not pleased with the prospect of having such a zealot as the leader of the Jewish people. He therefore asked of God that the leader be a tolerant person, not a zealous one. The Midrash goes further, noticing the unusual name by which Moses calls God in this passage, source of the breaths of all flesh. Moses appeals to God's knowledge of the innate diversity of human beings. Moses requested that the Holy One, at the hour of his death, saying before God, Master of the universe, the mind of each and every one is known before you, and none of them are the same as another's. When I am separated from them by death, I ask of you, please, to set someone over them who will be patient with each and every one according to their uniqueness. Now, these are all Midrash. Moses calls upon God to choose a successor for him who will understand and respect the differences between people, rather than a zealot like Pinchas, whose instinct is to find the sinners and kill them, to separate between us and them. So, who else might have been the next leader? One tradition suggests that Moses looks to his own children. Every parent wants their children to succeed, and the thought of succeeding them in such a high status would be a lovely thing for a father. Following the famous episode in which the widow Zelophehad's 5 daughters step forward to claim their father's inheritance, which is also in the Siddur, and I'll talk about in a minute, Moses voices the hope that his sons will inherit his role. God quickly squelches this idea. The leadership of the people is not to be hereditary. Moses will not be the first in a family dynasty. Moses' legacy is to be based on merit, not blood. And so Joshua, his disciple, earns that role. But there is something to be learned about leadership from the episode of the daughters of Zelophehad. Now, these are 5 daughters whose father has passed, who's died, and the mother, Zelophehad, would be left under patriarchal law in the Torah with nothing, because the inheritance would go to the closest male relative, no matter how far that was, whether it's a brother or a cousin or whatever. But the women show tremendous courage, as women in a patriarchal society, to challenge the law and stake their claim. And it is a tribute to the Torah that they prevail. But there is more. Unlike almost all the siblings in Genesis, and think about this, Cain and Abel, Isaac and Ishmael, Jacob and Esau, Rachel and Leah, Joseph and his brothers, there is no rivalry between these sisters. They are able to come together, to cooperate for a common good, for a common purpose, for the good of their family and each other's. And this story, this verse about the women getting the inheritance, is a major biblical source for women's lib in Judaism, for the authority and the ability of women to do various things, certainly in conservative Judaism. So Pinchas models passionate leadership, but Moses sees the risks. Someone so passionate will be blinded by the needs of his flock and to the differences that make them whole. In contrast, God originally chose Moses as a leader because he recognized the needs of individuals. He searched for a lamb who went astray and had compassion on its need for water. Pinchas would bring a politics of division with his passion. And so although he is rewarded in his relationship with God, he will not be the leader of the people. This is in contrast to the daughters of Zelophehad, who are brought together by their love of family and their love of the land. And Joshua, who patiently sat at Moses' feet and learned from watching them lead. These are models to which we turn. And of course, there's no present-day lesson in all this anywhere. I'm not naming names. The Parshat Pinchas ends with the holiday calendar. It describes the various holidays, when they're to be observed, what sacrifices are to be offered, and various other specifics about each holiday. In fact, sections from this parsha are read as the maftir for every holiday. So in other words, when we get to Passover, we read a section from Pinchas that talks about Passover. At Sukkot, we read a maftir that talks about the observance of Sukkot. In a very tangible way, this brings the conversation home. Think of what happens when we sit at the table together, maybe a Passover Seder or Thanksgiving, which is after all based on Sukkot. It may be with our families of origin, or our chosen families of friends, or some combination of the two. Almost certainly there will be differences of opinion. How could there not be, since we are all made in the image of a multifaceted God? Our challenge is to show the generosity of spirit that Moses shows when he lays his hands upon Joshua. God commands him to lay one hand on him, but Moses uses both, filling him with generosity with his own wisdom, as Rashi says. Inspired by God, we look with generous eyes to see the uniqueness of every human being and our own ability to unite. We certainly would benefit from that generosity of spirit today and hope that we can come together around our common needs and interests for a positive future. Okay. So, back to the service. Okay. Let's turn to page 40. I can turn to page 40. And we'll start toward the bottom of the page. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nega yomam v'layla v'yavtatcha al tasir mimenu leolamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 41, we sing together the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, V'chol avavecha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol meodecha, v'hayu advarim ha'ele, asher anochi, mitzavecha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shiftecha b'veitecha, v'lechtecha v'derech, u'shachbecha v'kumecha, Ukashartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letatafot b'neinecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. Let's read the Ahavta together in English on page 41. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all that is yours. These words that I command you this day shall be taken to heart. Teach them again and again to your children. Speak of them when you sit in your home, when you walk on your way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and as a symbol above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your home and on your gates. We continue silently on page 42. ויאמר להם משה לאמור דבר בני ישראל אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים אדוני אלוהיכם אמת On page 44, we join together for Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha Ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha Nedar B'Kodesh, Nora Tehilot, Osef Elem, Malchut Charovenecha Bokei Hayam Lefnei Moshe Ze'ali Anu Ve'amru, Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'em, V'nemar Kifad Adonai Yaakov, U'galo Mi'ad Chazak Mimenu, Baruch Ata Adonai, Gal Yisrael. On page 45, let's read the second bracha after Shema in English responsively. Allow us, Adonai, our God, to sleep peacefully. Awaken us to life, O Sovereign. Spread over us your canopy of peace. Restore us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you, God, watch over and deliver us, and you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace, now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over the people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Let's rise and sing together V'shamru. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam. U'hayom ha'shvi'i shavat v'inafash, shavat v'inafash, shavat v'yinafash. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam. We begin the silent Amida for Friday night to get silently, and we begin on page 47 and continue to page 51. Melech Modim anachnu la. V'yal kol hamirochim, Hashem chamokim le'avo Shalom. Ose shalom bimramav, hu yase shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'maru, amen. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael. V'maru, amen. Okay. We pray for those that are ill. Misha Berach. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing and healing. May the Holy One mercifully restore them to health and vigor, granting them spiritual and physical well-being, together with all others who are ill. And may God grant strength to those who tend to them. Though Shabbat is a time to refrain from crying out, we yet hope and pray that healing is at hand. We pray for Dan Siegel, Danielle Rice, Gitto Glasser, Ari Sanders, Ariella Alfieri, Bill Bucks, Estelle Lurie, Lynn Alexander, Marjorie Morstein, Diane Hickey, Barbara Feingold, Harriet Siegel, Lori Kahan Simon, Nadine Hyman, Ed Tansky, Irene Friedman, Gary Kramer, Arthur Stone, Diana Saltzman, Victor Alfieri, Francis Haber, Michelle Stupak, Caitlin Weathers, Danielle Santini, Julia Bernacki, Teresa Timmons, Esther Rowe, Bernie Rowe, Suzanne Gott, Joan Klepp, Estelle Rice, Hannah Lipman, Gary Hutcher, Deborah Haggerty, Susan Olar, Megan Coutinho, Natalie Kogan, Kelly Fenish, Rob Richard, Candace Dubrow, Sue Lasser, and Zachary Phillips. Is there anyone else whose name to remember? Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'Imatenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech Yirapeh et HaCholim Alehem Lahachazikim Ularap Otam v'Yishlach Lahem Mehera Refuah Shalema Min Hashemayim Refuah HaNefesh Urefuat Haguf B'toch Sha'ar HaCholim V'chazek et Yadei HaOskim B'tzarchehem Shabbat Hi Melizok Ulefuah Korova Lavo Hashta B'yagala Uzman Kariv V'nomar Amen. We move the service toward conclusion, since we don't have a minyan, and turn to page 56 for Aleinu. And we rise as the ark is opened. Aleinu shabeach ladon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב עיקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד. על כן נקווה לך, אדוני אלוהינו, לראות לנו. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. Well, even though we don't have a minyan and can't say Kaddish, let me at least mention the names of those whose yahrzeits we observed this week. Bernice Gardner, Carl Rowe, Mike Kropsall, Harry Switzer, Alex Diener, Harry Switzer, Sophie Wilson, and Harold Lynn. Are there any other names of anyone observing yahrzeit? Okay. Announcements. Do you want to?
Thank you, Larry. Sorry for the low attendance, but you've done great.
We started, we'll finish.
Friday night's Oneg is sponsored by Emily Hirsch, tomorrow by Libby Holzman. Rabbi Cohn will be away for July and returning in August. Please contact the office if you need assistance or have an emergency. Let's see, next Friday night is August 1st, 2nd. So hopefully we'll be back.
She will.
Don't forget, you have only until Thursday, August 8th to order your honey with free shipping. Follow the link in the newsletter to order the honey from the heart, to order honey from the heart and support CBI. Friday, August 9th is the installation of the new board during Shabbat services. Join us Sunday, August 11th from 10 to 1 p.m. for a welcome back and open house. It will kick off school year with some fun activities for the kids, including a bounce house, introduce CBI to those looking for a synagogue home, and all members can learn how they can become more involved. Tables for social action will be set up, sisterhood, and even Aged to Perfection presale will be set up. Weekly reminders, turning points with Rabbi Cohn will resume in August. Sunday is beginning Hebrew with Fred Leffert at 11:10 in the social hall. Tuesday, adult education class with Fred meets at 5:30 via Zoom. Call the office if you need the number. One other thing is the security system is in transition. from the old system to a new system, which will give us a lot more security. Your congregant fobs will not let you in the door this weekend. So tomorrow for Shabbat services, security will let you in. On Sunday, for Fred's class, Fred probably will be the only one that can enter the building and let his students in.
We'll let them know tomorrow.
Yeah, and I won't be.
Okay.
Birthdays, Carmen Newman on the 31st, along with Innie Smith. And you read the yurt sites.
Okay.
Good Shabbos, everybody.
Shabbos. We conclude the service with Yigdal on page 62. Yigdal Elohim Chai, v'yishtabach nimtza v'yenein, ein mesiuto, echad v'yen yachid, v'yichudo, ne'lam v'gam en sof le'yachduto, en lo demutaguf, v'yeno guf, v'naharoch elav kedushato, kadmon l'chol davar asher nivra, rishon v'en reshit l'reshito, hino adon olam v'chol notzar, yoreh gedulato u'malchuto, shefa nevuato nitano, el anshe segulato v'tifarto, lo kam b'Yisrael v'Moshe od, navihu mabit et emunato, torat et natan le'amoel, Oyad nevi'o neman beito, lo yachal lifoel, v'lo yamir dato, li'olamim lezulato, tzofeh v'yodea sitarenu, mabit lesof davar bekadmato, gomer le'ish chesed, kamifalo, noten l'rashara karishato, yishlach l'ket yamin meshichenu, liftut mechakeket yeshuato, mitim yechaliel v'rov chasto, baruch hadead shem tehilato, mitim yechaliel v'rov chasto, Baruch Hadead Shem Tehilato. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for coming.
And don't forget to join us in the Davis Social Hall. Shall I leave these? I'll tell you what, make sure before we leave I blow these out.
V'kol olam.